Hello there, Commonwealth from here. The Legend of Zelda 40th anniversary is only days away, and after seeing how Nintendo showed up for Mario's 40th, we hope they do something equivalent for Zelda. So what can we expect to see from this anniversary celebration, and what do we know? We'll go over all that and more, but first be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press notification bell, and let's get into it. Nintendo has been keeping the plans for Zelda's 40th anniversary a secret to everybody. As when asked about that and Pokemon's 30th anniversary, company president Shuntaro Furukawa stated that there was nothing to share at this time, but he did say, quote, "Milestones of 30 and 40 years represent an extraordinary length of time. We're truly grateful that these characters have continued to be loved by players around the world for so long, and we'll work to ensure they can continue to be enjoyed for many years to come." Corporate talk, obviously, but we have to believe that they have something cooking for Zelda's 40th, as they have always done something for the franchise's anniversaries, so every 5 years. Starting in 2011 with Ocarina of Time 3D and Skyward Sword for the 25th anniversary. Then in 2016 for the 30th, Twilight Princess HD on Wii U. And though it could have been the year of Breath of the Wild, this year still marked the game's big media blowout, with a beautiful gameplay reveal and booth at E3. 5 years later in 2021, Zelda's 35th anniversary was celebrated with Skyward Sword HD, DLC for Age of Calamity, the Game & Watch system, and the proper first gameplay reveal of Tears of the Kingdom. There's a pattern which just might repeat itself this year, and it might be more ambitious than it has been up to this point, as Joey will now cover.
For starters, it's likely we won't see any significant announcements until the next general Nintendo Direct, like this happened during February 2021, where there was a clear segment change with Aonuma announcing Skyward Sword HD, and we are at risk of a repeat of Gradual announcements. Nintendo did just this in 2019 and 2021. In 2019, Nintendo revealed Link's Awakening Remake in February, and then the sequel to Breath of the Wild in June, while in 2021 we got the reveals of Hyrule Warriors DLC and Skyward Sword HD in February, but had to wait until June for DLC gameplay, the Zelda Game & Watch, and second teaser of the sequel. Eiji Aonuma introducing a Zelda segment again would be no surprise, perhaps this time with game director Hidemaru Fujibayashi, as according to Keiza McDonald's book Super Nintendo, the duo work very much in partnership, with Aonuma's playfulness complementing Fujibayashi's more reserved nature. These two are the main reasons why Zelda is as successful as it is today, so it would be justified having them both host the 40th anniversary segment. As for what they'd reveal, well, one thing is certain: an update on the live-action Legend of Zelda movie. What we're hoping for is a brief teaser of footage showing the vibe the movie is going for, which is a lot more indicative of the final product than leaked set videos and still images of the characters.
Although filming is expected to wrap in April, they could still make a small teaser with what they have filmed so far. Even if we don't see this in the next Nintendo Direct on February or March, we're almost guaranteed the first trailer by year's end, since the movie is coming out in May 2027. The timing just seems right for that. We also could get updates on the rumored Zelda theme park in Epic Universe, as Aonuma was spotted there in a now deleted promo for the park. There's also room for more Zelda merchandise announcements beyond the Ocarina of Time Lego set. We know that this is just the beginning, especially when it comes to Zelda merch tied to promoting the movie. But there are also other elements to Zelda's 40th anniversary, the concerts, and we could see a return of the Symphony of the Goddess, performing new pieces from the latest Zelda games. That brings us to our most burning question. What other games will Nintendo have for Zelda's 40th anniversary? As we stated in the beginning, remakes and remasters are pretty much the only thing that we can expect both revealed and released within the same anniversary year. It is safe to assume that this year will not be very different. Of course, there's the heavily rumored remake of Ocarina of Time, reported by Nash Riedel to be under development and being done by Nintendo themselves. Since what better way to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Zelda than with a remake of one of its highest rated games? The first and possibly most iconic game in the franchise in the third dimension. One that could have finally modern camera controls, lack of loading times in pretty much most areas, and restored cut content. No doubt, this would be an earth-shattering reveal, and one that would line up perfectly to the Zelda movie if it is released close to it. Since it really depends on how ambitious this remake, if real, will be. And the more you add to it, the more years required of development time. So maybe this game is closer to the game's 30th anniversary in 2028.
Luckily, if Ocarina of Time skips the 40th anniversary, there are still plenty of other Zelda remasters that would make us happy, like the long-awaited HD remasters of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. They're just sitting there on Wii U waiting to be ported to Switch. What's taking so long, Nintendo? However, Switch 2's GameCube library complicates things, as why re-release these HD games when they could just slap them on the GameCube library to get more people subscribed to Switch Online plus expansion pack. Wind Waker is already there, so Twilight Princess could be next. Well, here's the thing. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD would do way better if they were released as their own games on Switch and Switch 2, because not everyone wants to subscribe to a service to play objectively inferior versions of them. And also, the GameCube library is only on Switch 2, so Switch 1 owners would be left in the dust without proper re-releases. Therein lies an incentive to give these games proper cartridge releases on Nintendo Switch, with Switch 2 enhancements like Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Speaking of Switch 2, let's talk about Switch 2 editions of Zelda games that haven't gotten those updates yet. Link's Awakening, Skyward Sword HD, and Echoes of Wisdom. Given that the two top-down games have received free Switch 2 updates, they don't seem likely to get Switch 2 editions anytime soon unless they had major expansions. Skyward Sword HD, on the other hand, could receive both: enhanced 4K visuals, mouse mode controls for some items, and a significant content expansion. Something like Zelda's part of the story being playable in its own side campaign. It could make the game's story and potentially the rest of the Zelda timeline much more impactful.
As exciting as these ideas are, we think it's more likely that Nintendo will release a new remake or remaster of a Zelda game that hasn't gotten one yet. Now that Grez has worked on Link's Awakening, maybe they can move on to the Oracle games, but that might be a quick turnaround after Echoes of Wisdom released barely over a year ago. And likewise, it is probably too soon to have a brand new 2D Zelda game at this point. But there are other alternatives than the two-game Oracle games, namely the Minish Cap, a single-player Zelda game that has been pretty much forgotten at this point. And though it's already on Game Boy Advance Switch Online, it just feels like it deserves a better second chance. Unlike A Link Between Worlds, which is in dire need of a re-release. It's easy to forget that this is one of the best 2D Zelda games of all time, and it would be a real shame for it to stay trapped on the Nintendo 3DS. It doesn't even need a significant graphical overhaul, just a few graphical touch-up as we have seen with Miitopia, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, plus of course we have something called DLSS upscaling on the Nintendo Switch 2. Finally, we couldn't end this topic without bringing up the next Zelda game for Nintendo Switch 2. Will it be revealed during the 40th anniversary celebrations in any way? Well, given that it's pretty much been 3 years since Tears of the Kingdom, it is possible to hear something about this game, whether it be a first teaser or a proper reveal of a new map, and of course, Link. But we have to keep in mind that these open-air games take longer and longer to develop and complete. We're only hoping that it will release before the end of this decade. So 2029 or 2030. In the case of 2029, that could mean a reveal, sometime during the Zelda 40th anniversary. So I would say a reveal either this year, but maybe more likely next year in 2027. At most, producer Aonuma and director Fujibayashi might mention that they are hard at work on the next Zelda game and they will share an update when they are ready.
Although, come to think of it, the past two mainline Zeldas were announced ridiculously early, thanks in part to unforeseen delays. Breath of the Wild was announced as Zelda Wii U in June 2014 before being delayed twice to March 2017. Then there's Tears of the Kingdom being announced in June 2019 before finally releasing in May 2023. Granted, they would have finished that a lot sooner were it not for a global pandemic. Given that Nintendo wants more people to buy Switch 2s, it might make business sense to give Zelda fans a taste of what to expect from the next game on the new console. It would be something in the vein of Breath of the Wild's initial reveal on Wii U, showing off the game's map and art style with some exciting action at the end and some text saying the next Zelda game is in development. After all, it would be too early to put a year at the end of that teaser. The question is if Nintendo would be interested in promoting a game they don't have a solid release window for yet. Ever since Tears' initial reveal, they've been very careful not to announce games without at least a planned year for release. Even still, Zelda games seem to be the exception, and it wouldn't be surprising for them to tease the next mainline 3D game to get fans interested not only in Switch 2, but the Zelda movie in 2027.
One could also argue that it would make more sense to reveal the game after the Zelda movie. But personally, I think that's not the way to do it. It's better to have the movie and also a game to look forward to when the movie is premiering in theaters around the world. But that is after the 40th anniversary, and right now we're waiting in anticipation for some exciting reveals, maybe even before February 21st, 2026. And by that we mean the next Nintendo Direct, be it in February or March. But before we go, we would like to hear from you. What do you expect to see revealed for Zelda's 40th anniversary? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, then be sure to give a like, subscribe and press notification bell for more Zelda 40th and other Zelda videos like this one. Finally, a big thanks goes to you for watching until the end and to all our patreon.com/commonrealm patrons. Special shoutouts to our producer Jonathan and heroes Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, Holly Wolf and Kintaro. You rock, and please enjoy these awesome videos.